Hello everyone. Whenever any company talk about their business growth strategy or think about entering into any new market or expanding in their existing market, the first thing they would like to evaluate is what is the market size of my target market where I want to enter or expand. Market size is essentially the maximum value of business that a company would be able to do in that particular market. Today I am going to talk about what is the easy way to calculate the market size of any particular market. In one of my earlier video, I talked about 5 key pillars of a market. Out of those 5 key pillars, 2 pillars are most fundamental: demand and supply, or you can say buyer and seller. In an ideal case scenario, the seller would like to produce only that much goods and services that buyer would like to purchase. Therefore, if we have to calculate the market size, there are only two ways to calculate it. Either you look at the market from the demand side or from the supply side. Let's understand this with an easy example. Let's take smartphone. If we have to calculate the smartphone market size in India, and if we look at it from the supply side, we have to find out which are the key brands those are selling in the India market, who are those manufacturers and the sellers. And if we find out their domestic sales figure, and if we add up those domestic sales figure, we'll get a good assessment of the smartphone market size in India, assuming these brands, manufacturers, sellers, these are selling only that many smartphones for which there is a demand in the market. Worth noting here is when you are adding the sales figure of these manufacturers and sellers, you are mainly focusing on the organized market, because for the organized market, sales are traceable. Now, when you look at the smartphone market from the demand side, we have to look at the population of India. India has a 1.2 billion population. You need to split it up into different age bands, let's say up to 20 years of age, 20 to 30 years of age, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and 50 plus. For each age band, you need to take certain assumptions that what is the percentage of that population who might be using the smartphones, and what is the average price of the smartphone that age slab population might be buying. You need to validate those assumptions through desk research and the primary research. Now, when you add up those volume of smartphone users in each age slab and multiply it with the average price of the smartphone that they might be using, and also add up with an assumption that how many of those users would be having more than one smartphone, you will get to know the smartphone market size. There is another way to calculate the smartphone market from the demand side. If you split up the population in terms of the household income slabs, and again do the similar assumptions that how many smartphones or what percentage of those the population that is falling in the particular household income slab would be using the smartphones, and what average value of the smartphone they would be buying. Again, you need to validate those assumptions to desk and the primary research. Once you add up those volume of the smartphone users and multiply it with the average value of the smartphone, you will get to know the smartphone market size. So these are the only two ways where you can calculate the smartphone market size. And uh, and from the supply side, it's also very important to understand the further layering of the market from the company's standpoint when they have to develop their strategy. You need to look into that out of this market, what's the value of the market that is from the domestic manufacturers the locally produced smartphones, and how much of the market is contributed by the imported smartphones. So this can give a good idea of domestically produced smartphone market versus international imported smartphone market. This is crucial for international company to understand what kind of competition they would be facing in India uh, with the domestic manufacturers vis-a-vis the imports those are happening in India. Uh, it's also important sometimes to look at the unorganized market. The unorganized market sales are not traceable, so you need to do some primary research, expert interviews to get a fair assessment of what's the percentage size of the unorganized market out of total market. And then you need to extrapolate from your organized market to get to the unorganized market size and eventually the overall market. This is relevant from the point of view that for some companies, for their product and services, even they can acquire certain chunk of unorganized market, and over years even the organized market expand and then take a share of to the unorganized market. So that's why sometimes it's important to have a picture of both organized and unorganized market. But if you look from the international companies perspective, what's more important for them is the organized market. Also, it's a good practice that if you calculate the market size from the supply side, you validate this by calculating the market from the demand side. Because sometimes what happens that the market that comes out from the demand side is higher than the market which has come from the supply side, which gives a good idea that there could be a unmet demand in the market which the existing supply is not able to meet up. This means that company can devise their strategy to acquire this unmet demand, or sometimes there could be a latent demand, means the companies can innovate their product and services to acquire those latent demand which is not there in the form of existing goods and services. But if they innovate their goods and services, they can target to those latent demand as well. So that's why those validation from both from the demand and supply is helpful to get a good assessment of what's the overall market size, and then devise your entry or growth strategy for that market accordingly. Hope you like this easy explanation of calculating the market size. If you find this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe my channel. Also, let me know if there are any other topics on which you would like me to talk about. Till then, please take care and stay safe. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.